Hey everybody, let me grab my earphones. We will wait for 5 minutes before we start like usual. Welcome everybody who's in it here so far. I'm gonna find my earbuds. Not sure where they are. let me look for them. I'll be right back. Hello everybody. Ready for more snow? No snow. Hope that works. Let me know if you guys hear me talking. We will wait till the 5-minute mark. Any questions, leave in the comments below. As usual, we will start getting to them soon. Thank you everyone for joining in so far. Perfect. Good to hear. We'll give it 2-3 more minutes. Any questions, leave it in the chat, and then we'll start in a couple minutes. Yeah, it's pretty cold up here today, Mike, the last couple of days. Not sure what it's like in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I see a couple of questions already. I'll get to them as soon as we start. So just wait a couple of minutes more. Oh, that's too bad, Mike. Hopefully it doesn't stick to the ground. Hello, Billy. We'll give it one more minute. Give it extra minutes. People funneling in already. This is good to get to see. Thanks everyone for joining. Maybe I'll put something up on Instagram as well. Yeah, just bear with me while I make this post on. Alrighty, let's begin. Let's see what the first question is. Alex, regarding the takeaway, which I've always been uncomfortable with to sync up everything, would you move arms, torso, and hips at the same time, or would you move them one after another? Really depends on the player. For you, Alex, I haven't seen your swing in a while. It's tough to say what's good for you. But I would just kind of try things out. Some people like feeling everything moves together, which I'm totally cool with. Other people's like moving arms first and then torso and then the hips. I'm okay with that either. I've asked people to do both, depending on what they're coming from and what they need for their golf games. So try them both out. See what works well for you. I would be okay with both choices. Jared. Hey Larry, I want to start online lessons this season. What would be more helpful to my game along with lessons? Getting new fit clubs or a decent launch monitor to practice better and know numbers? That's a good question. It depends on what kind of clubs you have now, how well they work for you now, or maybe how ill fit they are for you. Tough to say without knowing your game and knowing your swing and knowing what clubs you have. A decent launch monitor would definitely be very beneficial. I would probably not look at any. I'm assuming you're going to use this indoors. I would not look for anything cheaper than a SkyTrack. GC2 preferably. If you have the money to spend more, GC Quad obviously, but if you can get a GC2, even a refurbished GC2, I mean, or even a SkyTrack, that would be really good for indoor use. So I would need more information in terms of what clubs you're using now, but I think in the long run, regardless of what kind of clubs you have now, a decent launch monitor would do, assuming it's at least to the level of a SkyTrack. Whoops. Omer, which golf coaches have influenced you the most? I've taken a lot of lessons from people, some good, some bad. At the end of the day, good or bad, I still take something away from it. Whether it's trying to help someone play better golf or implement the golf swing better, or maybe it's something that I would not implement into my clients. I've learned something from all the good or bad experiences. When I was growing up as a university student or high school, I worked with Nick Starchuk for a lot of years actually. He was really good to me and really thankful for our working relationship. I also work with Scott Kaus a little bit. I really like what Scott's doing, and then have taken lessons from a couple of people who I'm probably not going to name who have been detrimental to my game. But I've also watched people teach, like Chris Mason, taking lessons from Dana Dahlquist, who I think are doing really good. Austin I've taken lessons from, who I also really like. And I was going to see Dr. Kwan down in Texas to get suited up to get some 3D data to talk with him, just kind of get his ideas on things and see if it can help me improve my teaching and my understanding of biomechanics and 3D. But unfortunately, the COVID-19 situation made me think twice before flying on the plane. So hopefully next year I can make a trip down to go see Dr. Kwan. But that's kind of the coaches I have, the golf coaches at least, who I have experience with. I also truly believe my experiences with my strength and conditioning coach, Ian Warner Sr., has been very beneficial to me and improving my golf game and improving my delivery of how I suggest movement feels to my clients in terms of how I cue them to get them to move a certain way. I think that's been really good to me. I've been working with Ian for, I think, 3 years now. and then also my experiences with my athletic therapist, Jason, who has worked with the best athletes in the world across numerous sports. I think learning from him how his clients, his athletes go about performing and preparing for performance, I think that has been really influential for me and very beneficial for me. Hope that answers your questions pretty well, Omar. James, should we keep the right elbow bent during impact? If we do, how the best way to do this? Thanks. Assuming right-handed player here. Yeah. So most good ball strikers typically have their right elbow slightly bent as a right-handed golfer. The only way to do that is, I shouldn't say the only way. So most players who struggle with keeping their right arm bent is because they pull their hands down early in the downswing, and then the arms start separating from the torso. So if you can keep your arm structure at the top of the backswing connected to your torso, so maybe I'll kind of show you briefly. So at the top of your backswing, your arms pinned to your chest. If you keep it back and pinned to your chest and just rotate, it will increase the likelihood of you keeping that right arm bent. If you are like most amateur players and you start doing this in the downswing, you pull, the right arm straightens, the arm structure overtakes the torso's rotation, and you're not going to keep your right arm bent. So keeping your arm structure up and back during the downswing would be very beneficial in helping you keep your right elbow bent through impact. Hey, Billy. Hey, Simon. Thank you. Happy to see you guys are coming back more often. Tony Blakemore, hi from the UK layer. Hey, Tony. I use the straight arm pivot drill to help reinforce my backswing. So many drills are difficult to focus on. What would you recommend as the best downswing drill? It really depends on what you need. I think the cardboard drill that I've posted with the cardboard underneath the drill foot is really good for most amateur players to learn how to torque the ground to start the downswing. I think a lot of amateur players struggle with getting too lateral. So by feeling that torque, it helps them be more rotational. That would be a good one to look at. In my opinion, if I already just asked you to watch one video without knowing how you swing. Alex, spine tilt on top of the backswing, centered or away from the target. Depends on the player. I'm good with either. Depends on the player and how they transition from there and how they get there. It just depends on the overall movement as a whole. Hey, Rubens, good to see you. Simon, when you teach your wedge system, you emphasize using the bounce of the wedge. Is the opposite true for irons, or are you using your leading edge to interact with the turf? So using the bounce of the wedge is more so with partial shots, because I want to hit the ground first to soften how the ball comes out, and I want it to land soft. When it comes to full swings, I don't really ask my clients to think about how the leading edge interacts with the ground. As long as if you're making a full swing and you move well, you hit the ball first. I don't really care what happens after that for the most part. So I wouldn't necessarily ask you or ask any of my clients to think about using the leading edge to interact with the turf. It'll just take care of itself. Omer, is too much depth in the backswing a bad thing? It could be. It definitely could be. You're definitely not too deep from what we've seen so far. But I've definitely seen a lot more players who are not deep enough rather than being too deep. I really, in my experience, probably at the very, very most, 20% of my clients come to me for the first time being too deep. Maybe less than that, if I were to guess. Moldog, when you draw the ball, do you close the face a few degrees at address? I do not. Typically, when you hit a draw, at least I would like it to start right of target for a right-handed golfer and then have it curve back. If your face is closed at address, you would have to open it that much more to get it to start right. So I would definitely not think about closing the face a few degrees at address and making a point left of target if that is what you're asking about. Scrunchy. At what swing speed do you recommend players to start dropping long irons 2, 3, 4 for hybrids and utility irons? I don't really have a set number in mind now. A very small percentage of my clients actually play 2 irons. those guys will be swinging drivers at least 115, 150 miles an hour. They would be swinging at least. It's very tough. It's tough to find players who can hit those long irons well, swinging less than 110, maybe into the 105 category. But I do know really good players who do hit 3-4 irons who may be swinging at 100, 103-ish, but they just kind of grew up hitting those irons and they got no reason to tell them to stop doing that. So really depends on what kind of flight you want, how well you hit your long irons. Even if you're a lower swing speed guy, if you hit your long irons really well, you just can't hit hybrid, by all means, keep hitting it and just find a way to launch them higher. Billy, on the downswing with lead arm pin to your chest and proper rotation, at what point in the swing do you recommend your hands coming down? I don't really think about a certain point in when the hands come down. Your hands should just come down on its own because you're rotating. So at the top of your backswing, just because you're leaving your hands up in transition doesn't mean the hands ever come down. Because you rotate, and as you rotate, the chest starts facing the ground, the hands have to come with because the chest pushes the arm down. Just because we leave them up, it's never going to stay up the entire time. The rotation will bring the hands down, so I would not recommend you thinking about or trying to time the hands coming down. And I personally do not think about that either. Mike, do you have an opinion on the best way to structure practice time? Say 45 minutes a day. Time on block practice, mixing up clubs, short game. Depends on the player and what we're working on. For you, Mike, I think out of 45 minutes, the first 30 minutes would definitely be what you would consider block practice, more technical stuff. And then the last 15 minutes you can do short game. You can swing the longer clubs. That's how I would do it for you. Most amateur players, I would probably do the same thing if they are working on their swing. If they are not working on their swing or they have no desire to work on their swing and improve their ball striking, then that 45 minutes a day could just be mixing the clubs or short game, putting, chipping, whatever it may be. But that's only if they have no desire to work on their ball striking or improve their ball striking. Duke Sienda. At what point does a pelvis go from posterior tilt to anterior pelvic tilt? Can you discuss your preference from sub to impact? I got no preference in that, and I never really talk about when the tilt starts changing in the downswing. For my clients and for at least most clients I work with, almost all clients I work with, I never talk to them about pelvic tilt. If their ass is sticking out too much and their back is arched, with their pelvis not tilted to the right place, I will probably correct it at setup. I do prefer the back to be flat, prefer it not to be arched, but I don't ask players to tilt their pelvis one way or another in the swing. So not really too much of a preference at all. If you move well, that pelvic tilt will take care of itself. Where do you put emphasis on gapping between clubs, the top of the bag or bottom of the club, or the bottom of the bag? In terms of gapping it would be nice to know the gap for the entire set of clubs, but most players would definitely benefit from knowing their gappings on the shorter half of their clubs, because it's more of a precision club. If you're 200, 230, 250 yards away, if you're on the green or around the green, it's a really, really good shot. So put more emphasis on knowing your gapping from your wedges to your mid irons if you were to choose one or the other. But obviously, the more clubs you know what the gapping, the better. You're welcome, James. Scrunchy. Angle of attack with driver is 5 to 8 degrees up with extremely low spin. How do I bring the attack angle closer to 3 up and increase spin of hair? So most players who are 5 to 8 degrees up on the driver typically tilts back too much in the downswing. So I would make sure you do not tilt your upper body back in the downswing. Keeping your lead shoulder feeling like it goes down and around will help you level out the angle of attack. Alex, you've been working on pivoting from the bad foot, but might be getting stuck during impact. How do I time the jumping up when the hips are parallel, the pass parallel during the downswing sequence? As a rough guideline, once your pelvis starts facing the ball, you can start the jump up. You can start pushing back up. I would liken the timing to feeling like you're doing dumbbell push press with rotation. So if you do a single arm dumbbell push press for rotation, it will help you blend together the push up with the rotation, and then from there is just finding out what you like in terms of timing and make it the most athletic for you. I wouldn't try to stay on the back foot too long, but again, I haven't seen you swing in a long time. It's tough to say what exactly you need. Sergio, do you prefer an upright swing or a flat swing with your teachings? I don't really consider what I teach you be upright or flat, as long as their hands are high enough, their lead arm covers their shoulders. I would be very happy with that. I typically do not like the lead arm under their shoulders at the top of the backswing. So in terms of a look, you can see my left arm, my lead shoulder covers my shoulders. I don't like seeing it under unless they just physically can't get it up there. I haven't worked with anyone who literally can't get it up, but I do like lead arm covering the shoulder plane, the shoulder line, and then it can be a little slightly higher if they want. Just depends on how the player swings. Dr. Roger, I've been working on pushing up with the feet on downswing. When I do it harder, I find I push out to the right. What could I work on for this? When you say you're pushing out to the right, do you mean you're pushing your pelvis to the right, or do you mean the shots are pushing out to the right? It's tough to say without seeing the swing, but let me know more detail about that. Simon, how have some of your students felt that left arm being pinned to the chest? Do some of them consciously press their arm against the chest, or is it the pinning of a result of something else? For most of my clients who are working on that for the first time, it's definitely a more conscious effort to start because they're so used to pulling their hands and arms out away from their chest and down towards the ball. So it's definitely going to feel like it's a more conscious thought. That's why I reference the loop a lot in my YouTube videos. Feeling like at the top of your backswing, you loop your arms back behind you as you rotate. So it's feeling like things are moving in two different directions. So as your body rotates into the ball, the arms are moving back even more. That will create that pinning of the left arm into your chest even more in the transition, which is what I would recommend you do if you're trying to feel that for the first time. Gus, what advice would you give for a low handicap player that wants to create a higher angle of attack with the driver? Depends on why you want to create that higher angle of attack. Depends on what your angle of attack currently is. Depends on your ball flight currently. As a low handicap player, you're pretty good already. There needs to be more information for me to accurately tell you what you should do to create a higher angle of attack. Everyday golfer. Distance or accuracy? I still play my ping ISI irons for accuracy. If I want more distance, pull longer club. I would never compromise. I would never try to compromise one for the other. For all my clients I work with, I try to max out the accuracy and max out the distance. I want to help them improve both. So if you want to get new clubs to get more distance and keep the accuracy, that would be ideal. But if you want to keep your clubs and you want more distance, then yes, you do have to pull a longer club out. There's no other choice around it. But I do like having both distance and accuracy. I would not really ask my client to choose one over the other. You're welcome, Alex. Hopefully, when everything blows over, we will see what happens. I would certainly like to see you again. Duke Sienna, do you prefer a frisbee type release with lead wrist going from flexion to extension, or a vertical release similar to the impact snap? If you're familiar with the device, I've heard of the device. I'm not familiar with the device, what it does. I also do not prefer one over the other. Whatever happens however impact and the release wants to happen as a result of everything else before it, I am okay with that as long as the ball flight is predictable and my client is happy. Larry, it looks like you missed my question at 7:14 p.m. It did not come up. I did not see it. I did not see you post anything, Dave, earlier. So if you want, yeah, I just scrolled back up. I don't see anything, Dave. If you want to retype it, I would get to that when it pops up. Alex, remember the pitching gapping sessions we did, 30 to 100 yards? Is there any lower body action involved, especially the shorter distance, or is it simply upper body pendulum? There is always a lower body movement. I always want the lower body to initiate that movement. It's that I would definitely not make it only upper body thing. Now, the amount the lower body engages or pushes would be a lot less at 30 yards compared to 100, but I always want the lower body to start the downswing regardless of the distance. Be hardy. A few tips for somebody looking to hit the ball with a positive angle of attack with the driver. Currently hitting 3 down with a 110-mile-an-hour swing speed, and I feel like I'm leaving some yards out of my game. Yeah, if you're hitting 3 down with a driver, you're definitely leaving distance out of your game. I would think about downhinging and releasing the club earlier. That would be my first recommendation without seeing how you swing. Just feeling like you downhinge to start the downswing will help you get the angles out earlier, and that should help you not be so down on it in the angle of attack department. Let me just grab a drink. Dr. Roger, shot leak, right word. I'm pushing to rotate around, has given more distance, but find the shots push at times. Just gotta figure out how to close the face more as you push up harder. Just gonna have to be experimenting more. Tough to say exactly what it is without seeing your swing. But if you hit your shots straight without pushing as hard, and then you start leaving the face open when you start pushing hard, you just gotta figure out how to close the face more often with that higher pushing intent. You're welcome, everyday golfer. You're welcome. Be hardy. Coy Miller. Suggestions for someone that fires the right hip out too quick in transition, causing the hands to move closer to the ball. You're most likely going to your toes too soon in the downswing. So I would definitely recommend feeling like you push your butt back in the downswing, staying in your heels, moving from your trail heel to your lead heel in the downswing, not going towards your toes in the downswing. Anyone who has your right hip assuming you're a right-handed golfer, if your right hip is moving out towards the ball too quickly, making you run out of this room between the ball and your body, that's typically because you're going to your toes too much and too soon in the downswing. So make sure you stay in your heels. Sergio, I just see you type my name. I don't see any questions. Mike, any drills to help smooth out chipping and not be so jabby? As a good starting point, I like the backswing, downswing, feeling like it's the same speed, feeling like it's there's no sudden acceleration. So I'm just gonna show you guys quickly. If this is the club here, most players I see who get jabby is because they try to speed up the downswing too much. For whatever intent it may be, I would much rather them see 1, 2, and you can see the backswing and the follow through is pretty similar size. So it's going to feel 1, 2, and I let my feet and my legs dictate the flow. It's not upper body like this where my lower body is not moving. I let the lower body dictate the flow going back and dictate the flow going through. So you can see there's a little bit of kind of like a mini squat and rotate. Even though the intent is to not create power, I let my legs bounce through to create that flow, to create the sequence from the ground up, so that I can kind of time the 1, 2, so that people are less jabby with their chips. So hopefully that helps, Mike. Duke, do you like the back of right arm to connect to the torso early in transition? I do not really think about that. And I also have not asked any of my clients to think about the right arm reconnecting to the torso early in transition. That's not a thought or a part of the body I like to recommend people think about in the downswing. Rubens, what club path, angle attack, face angle are ideal for a soft push draw? So typically, as a general rule of thumb, the face angle being half of the club path is generally a good starting point to get the ball started right and then drawing back left for a righty like yourself. In terms of matching up angle of attack, typically for the angle of attack, I like seeing it match up to your club path. If your club path is 3 degrees inside out, the angle of attack being close to 3 degrees would be good. As well as as long as the angle of attack and club path is close to each other, you generally would not see the face control be too much of an issue, and you shouldn't struggle with over curves. So club path, angle of attack kind of match kind of similar numbers. Face angle being half of the club path should give you those soft push draws that start right and gently come back left. Hope that helps. Dave, I still don't see your question. So if you are still watching, retype it and I will get to it when I see it. Sergio, I have more success squatting. I have more success squaring the club face when I take the club back with left wrist facing the ground. Is this sustainable and can it negatively affect the downswing? No, it is definitely sustainable and it will not negatively affect the downswing. Feeling the left wrist face down is definitely going to help keep the face more close to square. Now, how much of the left wrist is actually facing the ground is tough to say without seeing video. But for a lot of people, for them to feel that, it might not necessarily be literally the left wrist facing down. It will definitely be more down than what they're used to. So I'm certainly happy to hear that you are finding success, and that was certainly not convince you to do otherwise. A lot of my clients will feel that, but more in their right palm. As a righty, the right palm facing the ground and the takeaway would generally create that same sensation. But if you're finding success with that, then that's really, really good and keep doing it. Neil, no question. Just saying hi. Hello, Neil. If people haven't learned a bunch over this time stuck at home between you, TXG, and Andrew Rice, no hope. Very, very nice of you to say. TXG is making videos every day, which is great to see. Hopefully, I will be making a lot more videos very soon with the move. So with the move, hopefully the home sim will be up and running relatively soon within the next couple of months. So that's the plan. We will see. Depends on some financing. Depends on when lessons start happening again. We will see, but I would definitely hope to get on TXG's level very soon, and then that will be very, very nice. Cedric Barber, hi Larry. I'm having trouble with my hands at impact. It's causing me to hit shanks and killing my iron shots. Is there a drill or idea you can suggest for me? If you're hitting shanks, which means the heel of the club is moving towards the ball into impact, that might mean you're going your toes too soon and too much in your downswing. So as long as you feel like you stay back in your heels in the downswing, that would generally move your hands closer or further away from the ball. That would make sure the heel does not move towards the ball. So stay in your heels in the downswing would be my first suggestion in helping you fix your shank without knowing anything else about how you swing. Bulldog, best way to prevent sliding towards target on downswing. Thanks for all the great videos. Also learned a hell of a lot from you. Thank you. You're welcome, Bulldog. Thank you for watching. If you are trying to stop yourself from sliding towards a target, it probably means you're pushing off laterally from your trail foot too much, or you're stepping into your elite foot too much. What I would do is feel like you're staying on your trail foot for a lot longer, feeling the torque of the right foot, meaning if this is your right foot, this is your left foot, don't push laterally, push rotation, torque the ground. That should get your hips turning the other way, and then feel like you stay on that back foot for a lot longer. That will help you not go laterally to your elite side too soon. Rubens, How can I early extend? And every fitting session tells me to use 2 degrees flat irons. So early extending definitely doesn't mean you should be using upright irons off the bat, because at the end of the day, lie angle should be fit to ball flight. So at the very least, you're early extending a lot less from when we first started. We will definitely keep working on that. But in terms of your fitting sessions, if you're struggling with if during the fitting session you're seeing overdraws and hooks, I can see why they would recommend using flatter irons. That would be my best guess in terms of why your fitter decided to ask you to do that. But regardless, I think flat irons work well for you now for what we're working on. As you're hitting nice low push draws from when we chat. So, but we will keep working on helping you not early extend. Well, I got through those questions pretty fast today, guys. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, keep putting them in the comments. If not, then maybe we'll wrap it up a little early today. Colin, hey Larry, if I'm hitting some shots heavy, could this be a result of pulling my hands down? Yes, it definitely is. You're actually pulling your hands down in the second half of your downswing, which I'm uploading for you today into our space. So just wait maybe 10-15 minutes when this is all over, maybe a little sooner if there's no more questions, and I will upload it into our space on Coach Now. You're welcome, Mike. That's all the questions for now. Perfect. Yeah, maybe I'll wait another minute or so. If you guys got more questions, put it in the comments now. If not, you can save it for next week, or you can put it in the comments of the actual video when this stream ends. You're welcome, Dave. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Neil. Yeah, you're welcome, Colin. Yeah, we will talk in a little bit once I upload the video for you. So yeah, well, let's call it a day. We got through those questions pretty quick, nice and efficient. Maybe I will answer Bruce Ritter before I call it a day. Hey, Larry, what's the best way to stop bending the right elbow too much in the backswing? If you're bending the right elbow too much in the backswing, assuming you're a right-handed golfer, I would suggest you make straight arm swings, feeling like your right arm stays straight the entire time, feeling like your backswing stops as soon as it can't stay straight anymore. And chances are it will still bend when you watch yourself on video, but that feel will help you not bend so much and actually bend the right amount. So I would definitely try that first, Bruce. And then with that, we'll call it a day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Next week, 7 p.m. again, would be scheduled unless anything out of the ordinary happens. But if not, I'll see you guys next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And have a good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.